Just fight a little longer, my friend.
Growing up, I had parents who loved me and made sure I was in church every time that the doors were open. We participated in all the youth activities. I sang in the church choir. We helped plan organizations and helped with community outreach and projects. At the age of 6, all my friends and teens in the church were being saved, and it seemed like the thing to do. So I prayed about it and went before the church for baptism. Then about 2 years ago, my parents went through a divorce. I felt like my life was coming to an end. I found myself just living and going through the motions. I became very depressed and I began having thoughts of suicide. I just wanted all the pain to go away. I felt hopeless and so alone. It was during that time that I realized I never really accepted Christ as my Savior. It was time for me to pick up my cross and follow Him. At this point, I got down on my knee and prayed to God to save me. I turned all my thoughts and pain over to Him. I prayed to God to help me and for Him to change my heart, to mend all my broken pieces and make them whole again. I prayed for His will to be done in my life. I had always been told that to give it all to God, but in this point in my life, the phrase brought a new meaning. I had a peace in my heart, a love for others, and a happiness that only God can provide.
Just fight a little longer, my friend.
I like FCA because FCA can. It helped me to grow into the young man and leader that God wants me to be in my school life. When I was 2, my mom and my dad, they got a divorce. And that made me really sad, but I was 2, so I didn't really get it. And then a couple years later, she married a man who was my stepdad, and at that point, I had become depressed because my birth father, had fallen into alcoholism and drug abuse, and I wasn't allowed to see him anymore. A couple years later, they got a divorce, and then a few more years later, my mom met my now dad, who adopted me, and I'm so thankful for that because of his love that he has showed me. I now know how God loved Jesus and how much He loves me.
But I can't do this on my own. That's why I'm just trusting in you, 'cause I don't know where else to go, and I don't know what else to do.